It was very emotional. I was very much filled with emotion to see this young gentleman graduate with his GED, knowing what he went through and many others went through with him to get it.
Hmm.
Because starting off when he was at the Koyat facility, he was he was a hard nut to crack, very hard nut to crack. There were times that he didn't want to go to class, and you had to prompt him, and he refused. And there was a time that was mentioned yesterday that he got into trouble where he couldn't come to class. But I always took him under my wing, not because I knew him, but I treat all guys like that, all of them.
Now let's talk about that. You as an officer, to some people they think that they're just here to lock us up. But I heard Commissioner Lamb say yesterday, it's a calling. Why did you have that compassion for any inmate?
Well, I was given a task to do that to try and help change people's lives, right? And I thought that by encouraging them and giving them encouraging words and helping them any way I can, that would be a good thing to boost them in whatever they done. Even when it came to doing labor, not only just schoolwork, even labor. I'm sorry, but Sanjay was the person that I took with me. I'm not being biased. There were many others that I have given chances, and a lot of them were lazy, and sometimes he was lazy. But I found different ways to encourage them, give them incentives to do the things that they done, be it labor or the schoolwork. And sometimes even if it came down to giving them food. Yeah, simple things like that.
No, you with his mother and father were openly crying. Why was it so emotional?
I don't know if they call me a crybaby or what, because that's what some people say it, but I tend to be very emotional at times. Right? Very emotional. And to see him graduate, and to know that it's a friend of my son's, and to know where my son's at now, and to see where Sensei is now, it hurt me. It hurt me to know where my son's at, but it made me happy to know where Sensei is now. And I don't mean him being incarcerated, but where he is in his education, and hoping that he will go further. Not just with this GED, hoping that he'll go further than the GED. And if I could be of any assistance, and I tell my son and his friends the same thing. I encourage them to go, I've encouraged them to go up to Bermuda College, and I will encourage him the same way to try and go further than just the GED.
No, you live in Bacatan. You see it firsthand what can happen when young men go wayward. Some would say, they get up at Westgate, they do well, they come out and backslide. Why is it so hard, you think, for some of them to stay on the right path?
It tends to be hard because of some of the influences that they may be around, some of the neighborhoods that they're around, right? And some of them, it's a lack of positive male role models in a lot of them. I've seen it for years, a lot of them, because a lot of these guys I've looked at, it's only their mothers, and they need positive male role models in their life to boost them along, right? And be it through big brothers or big sisters or people like myself to give them a little encouragement, no matter where they come from, no matter where they come from. We as men have got to give these guys positive encouragement. We as men, because it's a lot of, I see it every day, and I see it every day. And I say, I look at them and I say, wow.
What do you say to, or your thoughts on men who either didn't parent their children who are now adults, or those who refuse to parent their children now?
To those that didn't and they still fail to, wow. It's time for them to pick up the baton and be in their children's lives. It's really time, because we're losing a lot of young men. I see them sometimes from 8 years old, 9 years old, Ron, right, hanging in certain areas where they shouldn't be, with men that should be mentoring them and being fathers. I say to these guys that it's time for these men to pick up their socks, pull up your socks, and be in your children's life. Be in their life.
Do you think that they get it, particularly with the black men who are failing their black sons?
I would say no. The reason I would say that no, because a lot of these guys that are failing their sons, I think have issues themselves, and some are just out there. Some may be caught up on whatever, be it alcohol or drugs, and they're just trying to survive themselves. But a lot of these men need help also. These men need help. A lot of them need help to be fathers, because sometimes it's generational. It's been passed on from some of their fathers, be they be men, be it they could be 38, 48, whatever. It could be generational curses that have been passed on, because a lot of these guys probably didn't have fathers. And I'm speaking from the experiences that I see. I thank the Lord that I had my father, and I had a stern father. And I thank the Lord that I had my mother in my life, right? A lot of these guys I know that are my age didn't have that. Mm-hmm. And so now you see that their children and some of their children's children are where they are now because of these generational curses that have been passed on.
Now, back to Sanche, it stood out how emotional he got when he saw he was happy that his father was able to be there. And it was kind of profound to see that his father was behind bars like him. For men that may have experienced that, how do they break that generational curse, for example?
Oh boy, that's a tough one, sister. That's a tough one, because of all the years that I've been in that service, I've seen situations where I've seen fathers and grandfathers and their grandsons behind those walls. And like I said just now, it's up to the individual if they want that help, to seek that help, be it psychological or any form of help. Because up at Westgate, they have people that can help them. You have the psychologists, and whatever form of help, they can get it. But sometimes these guys are just set in their ways. Some of them are just set in their ways. Some of them speak a good game, right? Some of them speak a good game. But deep down, I saw him yesterday, and I'm talking about his father, Sanche's father, and he came to me, and there were times that he was very nasty while I was working, and not such a good person, but he cried and he hugged me and he said, "Thank you, Mr. Cameron." And I hope he meant that. I really do. I hope he meant that, because I think it's about time that him and many others that have been doing this hard time now see that here my son's following in my footsteps, and I don't want to see my son follow in this negative footsteps, be it 10 or 15 years for things that they don't need to be doing. You're with me? Mm-hmm. Because, like I said, over the years, I've seen it, this generational curse. I've seen, I could call off names of people, this person, this family, that family, brothers, even sisters coming to jail, right? And a lot of it is deep-rooted in certain families. A lot of, I'm not perfect, never been, had my faults too, right? But I have a struggle also with my son. But with my son, and not taken away from Sanche, with my son and like many other young guys around this island, it's influences. And the influences are negative influences. 10 friends, right? 10 guys hanging out. 8 of them have only their mothers in their lives. Not to put down women, never will, because you have some strong women out there, right? But you have some that, like mother's boys, mother always wants to do for them. They could be now 18, 19, mama's always doing. Not giving them responsibility, right? But then mother allows them to do this and do that, right? So I found out with my son and others that it would be hard for me, and it's said that it's hard because of the influences that he's got around him. My son would have 10 friends. 8 of them would have their mothers in their lives. 2 would have mother and father. But because they see the 8 that are allowed to do certain things around the house, whatever, to get away with stuff, they thought that was the norm. So my type of rules or my type of living in my house would be the wrong way, because they have seen this type, you're with me? This type of living and thinking that's the right way. And I see that a lot. But again, I say in reference to Sanche and his father, I read an article in the paper today, and he said about how he wanted his father, no, first of all, he said that his father wasn't in his life. And I knew that for a fact, because I've known him from a young boy. And now to be up at Westgate and see his father, a man that was not much in his life, like he said, and both of them incarcerated, and to see Senche being pushed by others, Miss Sumner and many others, right, to get his GED, and so he could show his father and let his father be proud. But I hope that's an answer to, I hope that's something for his father too, so that he could change some of his lifestyles. Because you're getting older, brother. You're getting older.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, some people, the community, I find Bermuda's community very unforgiving at times. What do you say to those? And a couple of people touched on it yesterday when gentlemen or even ladies come out and everyone labels them. What do you say to those who automatically write people off who have done time behind bars?
You got to give them a chance. You never know their capabilities if you don't give them a chance. You can't keep writing somebody off and not give them a chance. In order for them to prove themselves, right, you got to give them a chance. You got to give them a chance.